Hello there, welcome along to another edition of Shootout. Greg Brady in Toronto, with me as ever to debate the big talking points across the Premier League and all of soccer. And when you look at the Premier League, Greg, it is beautifully poised at the moment. And I was particularly interested in Brendan Rodgers' comment after Leicester's win at Leeds. A lot of big clubs doing well. He said, well, I'm just lucky, I'm just a British manager.
He's not wrong, and very, very eminently popular. Leicester, remember, they win the Premier League. Never see that type of story again. You'll never see a Cinderella moment like that. And Claudio Ranieri's gone within the span of months after that. So Leicester's been looking for stability. They found it in the former Liverpool manager in Brendan Rodgers. And yeah, we talked on a previous episode about how difficult it is to judge the results week by week. I'd love to fast forward to where we're 12, 13 games in. I think we're going to get a better sense. There's teams I think are better than their record. There's teams I think that aren't as good as their record, but not a lot's clear right now. The only thing that makes sense is Liverpool is at the top and everybody else jumbled underneath.
Absolutely. The champions leading the way. Now, question one this week is, what is Manchester United's perfect midfield? This is a huge talking point at the moment, clearly on the back of that home defeat to Arsenal. We've mentioned their recruitment on previous episodes. There's a long list of candidates. So how do you see it, Greg? How do you solve Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's problem at the moment?
Well, it's uproarious to even think that there's one answer. I'll try and give one because they've been all over the map. I will say, for how they set up against Leipzig, they used a diamond shape, and they did that probably because, they can't run Martial, Rashford, Greenwood out there as a front three. And Bruno Fernandes is more that wedge funneling, the offensive attack. I think I'm sold that the diamond can work. So you're playing more, more a three at the back, a four in the middle, and then maybe a two with a one drop back. But I still look and I go, I need to see it more frequently. And that's been the one thing with Solskjaer. I can't tell if it's by design that he keeps sending messages, mixing up the lineup. And I can't tell how much of it's because of injuries and suspension so far. What's your thought?
Well, my thoughts are you've hit the nail on the head where Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does not know his short to mid-term plan in terms of the midfield, which is what we're talking about. And to be perfectly brutal and honest with you, the answer to my original question, what is Manchester United's perfect midfield? There isn't one. There's nothing perfect about the list of players that they have in that position. I'll tell you why, Greg. It isn't a PlayStation game. If your sons and my sons were playing each other and they were signing players, Pogba, Fernandes, Van der Beek, Matic, Fred, it sounds great. But this isn't. This is reality. This is one of the biggest football clubs in the world. You have to get players into position, into formation, and into a team ethic with a clear plan and a clear strategy of playing. And the acquisition of Donny van der Beek, as good a player he was and still is in his Ajax shirt and in the Netherlands shirt, as you say, he's only 23. We said it on Shootout at the time. Nothing against his ability. He wasn't that type of player that Manchester United needed. And we are going back again to the illogical recruitment because really and truthfully, Donny van der Beek and probably Paul Pogba, and that's another debate as well, they want to play and they should be playing in the position of Bruno Fernandes. Now, there's no way Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in the world is going to leave out Bruno Fernandes. That's not even a debate. So quite straight away, he's now trying to fit players in. And I said to you on Shootout right at the beginning that you will not see the three of them in the starting lineup very often, if ever. And so far this season, it has proven. Now, the diamond, yes, it did work well against Leipzig. But what I would say, Greg, is for the first hour of that game, it was pretty unconvincing from Manchester United. And then the scoreline and the quick Rashford probably papered over, not cracks, but some of the thought of when you actually analyse the game. And for that night, in that competition, against that opposition, it was a success. I don't see it being a long-term success. I don't see it being a long-term plan. When you watch other teams, you don't suddenly see Liverpool come out with 2 up front, 5 at the back, because there's a clear plan. Manchester United have a group of players at the moment, talented ones, by the way, really talented, some of them, but there is no plan. And I think, unfortunately, their last Premier League game, Greg, just emphasised it even more because of the opposition that they were playing. Arsenal know what they're trying to do. The two players he badly needed this summer was a commanding centre-back and a real authoritative central midfield player for the way Mikel Arteta wanted to play. What did he do? He went out and got them. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the moment at Manchester United don't have that identity and plan.
There just seems to be a little bit of confusion, and I don't know whether to lay it at the doorstep of Solskjaer or not. If you sign Van de Beek, surely there must be somebody in the infrastructure of the organization saying, you signed off on him at some point. Find a role for him. Cavani, we talked about him about a month ago when he was signed at the transfer window. The physique isn't a problem. The cardio ability isn't a problem. But where do you play him, and who comes out of the lineup? They had opportunities to use him when Martial's suspension was happening and didn't, Steve. So what do they think of these players? Are they in or are they out?
But Greg, that's my point. You don't sign a player and then try and find a role for them. You need a certain type of player to improve the system and the team ethic that what you have. You don't just throw up. And this is one of the things we've talked about with Chelsea and Frank Lampard and the brilliant recruitment he's done on paper. Let's look at the end of the season, how he integrates these players into their positions in the team formation. Donny van de Beek, I feel sorry for. He's played 90 minutes in total of all the games in the Premier League. He isn't going to start unless Bruno Fernandes is injured or ill. He isn't going to start. Going back to the diamond, it was a way of getting Paul Pogba onto the left because everyone correctly says in club football, and to a certain extent winning the World Cup with France, that's where he played his best football. Yeah, but at Juventus, he had Andrea Pirlo and Marchisio there. With the greatest respect, not Scott McTominay and Fred and Nemanja Matic. And if that had been when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer took over, if he seriously thought that was where Paul Pogba was going to play, then that's where you play him, and that's where you get a framework and you stick with it. They are a team who play with pace, with wide players, which is why they went for Jadon Sancho for so long, wide players to get the service to the likes of Rashford and the likes of Martial and Greenwood. Cavani's another one. We're talking about not needing Donny van de Beek. They didn't need Cavani. There was no way they set off at the start of that transfer window needing Cavani. And we saw against Arsenal, no fault of his own, he's miles off in terms of fitness. He's not ready for the pace and the power at the moment of the Premier League for any more than 15, 20 minutes. So there's more problems than solutions there, not just with the midfield, but the midfield where games are won and lost is a huge conundrum for Manchester United, Greg.
Back to your point at the start, what's the identity of this club? You always knew what Sir Alex Ferguson's teams, what their identity was, what the mission was, who the leader was, who the followers were. And from week to week, I can't tell with Man United. They sat Pogba on the bench a couple weeks. Now he's back. I mean, we don't need to know all the inner workings of the dressing room. We don't need to know all the inner workings of whether that was sort of a punishment after how poorly he played against Spurs. They all played poor against Spurs a month ago. There's more questions than answers, like you said, with this Man United club so far.
And the great thing is, neither of us know what Manchester United's best midfield is. It certainly isn't perfect. You can see what the midfield is, what the Manchester United result is, of course, away at Everton to begin the Premier League weekend, only on DAZN. Next up on Shootout, is Diogo Jota the man to break up Liverpool's front three? So the Portuguese international has had winning goals at Anfield, of course, in the last two home games. So does that mean he's now the man to get into that front three, Greg?
When you're on top, you always are looking to get better. Now, we shouldn't tell Mrs. Bauer and Mrs. Brady that. We don't want them looking to upgrade. We're fine as it is, Steve. We are who we are, okay? But nonetheless, I look at Liverpool as a champion and I say, why wouldn't they want to mix things up a little bit? I'm not talking about dropping Firmino out of the lineup, but I think there's a spot for Jota.
Diogo Jota, done it for Wolves. 15 goals in all competitions last season. Terrific transfer fee of £45 million. But if you're asking me, does he break the front three long term? Then no. And I'll tell you why in a moment. But unbelievable acquisition. He's going to have a great Liverpool career. But how do you fit all four of them in? I'm interested in this, Greg.
I look at Firmino and I say, maybe not as offensively gifted as Mo Salah and as Mane. So do we put a little more of an offensive injection into the life of the Liverpool midfield and drop him back a little bit? Is he a more natural 8, say, than a 9? Do we play Jota on the left wing? And I think at that point, we would leave Salah where he is, and that certainly opens it up for Mane somewhat.
You're going to win 6-5 every week.
I'd love to say, hey, listen, anything, anything that's not park the bus mentality. I just think it's too much money to spend almost for a player to be on the bench. And I know they have a lot of competitions too. Champions League, you're gonna have so many of these Saturday, Wednesday scenarios.
He's going to get a lot of games because of his versatility, and as I say, he can quite easily play that deeper role as well. But in terms of Firmino as an 8, I'm not so sure that's going to be at the top of Jurgen Klopp's talking point. I mean, straight away this weekend they're going to the Etihad. There's no way you'd have Jota, Mane, and Salah with Firmino behind against De Bruyne and Foden and Rodri. I mean, you've got no chance of keeping a clean sheet at the best of times with that, Greg.
I'd push it back at you. The injury to Virgil van Dijk. I do wonder if that affects Liverpool and how they have to play. If they have to look and say, we could afford to again get up in a match. We could afford to hold a lead. We had one of the best defenders on the planet, obviously. Now we don't. So do we need more of the football? Do we need more possession? Do we need more chances on net? And if that's the case, you find a way. You find a way for, you've got Wijnaldum and Henderson and Firmino, but you find a way for Jota to join Salah and join Mane, and you want as many weapons out there as you can. It's not about keeping clean sheets as much as it is, outscoring opponent. And Steve, you tell me if the Van Dijk injury may precipitate a change of philosophy somewhat in Jurgen Klopp.
Well, it does, Greg, but it actually adds more importance to defensive solidity, not playing Firmino as an 8. They need a little bit more protection than they might have done with Van Dijk there, because Van Dijk is so comfortable defending one-on-one. He's out on his own doing that. So this is why they won't get smashed up at all, because they've been unbelievable as a combination for the last 3.5, 4 years in terms of what Jurgen Klopp can rely on. And Firmino in particular has been with Klopp his entire 5 years as Liverpool manager. He was actually signed by Brendan Rodgers, you may remember, from Hoffenheim. Firmino has started more games under Jurgen Klopp than any other Liverpool player. Apart from ability, the word is trust. Jurgen Klopp trusts him. And Firmino, he's only scored 1 goal. That really, when I say it doesn't matter for a number 9, that sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But Firmino isn't judged, believe me, by his teammates or his manager on his goal-scoring numbers. The ultimate test for me, Greg, is this. If Liverpool draw Barcelona tomorrow in a Champions League semi-final and they're all fit, Jurgen Klopp does not think for half a millisecond about breaking up that front three, because that is what has proved successful and that is what he trusts. Now, that's not to say Jota might not start behind them, or Jota will definitely be a substitute and come on and affect the game. And he might have started 4 lesser league games before then. But the ultimate test is, on that big day, who does the manager trust and rely on? It's Firmino, Salah, and Mane.
I'd ask you, do you look, because I do, I look at Jota as maybe more a natural striker and Firmino as more a natural, maybe more a natural midfielder. I think Firmino fits better back there. And I'm not talking about taking him off the pitch or taking him out of the starting 11 because of a lack of results 7 games in. Absolutely not. But I don't doubt that down the line, that might be a conversation Jurgen Klopp has. And maybe Firmino actually enjoys that role maybe more, playing in the central midfield for Liverpool alongside Henderson.
No, I don't see that long term. I think Firmino's pivot role is crucial in allowing Mane and Salah to play, to be perfectly honest with you, Greg. Jota, of course, will be fit, hopefully, and well, and in that Liverpool squad for the clash that everyone really this weekend is looking forward to. The 2 teams who've been contesting the title in each of the last 3 seasons. At the Etihad, Manchester City, Liverpool. You can join myself, Michael Owen and Steve McManaman in the studio right here on DAZN.